Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Diplomatic Enclave. I'm your host, Khalid. But as is the norm with our show, we always interview heads of organizations or ambassadors, sometimes prime ministers and ministers as well, in which we highlight the work that they are doing for their respective country and how they are building and forging the relationship between their organization and their country and our very own. Today is an exception. We have somebody who normally doesn't come to Pakistan, but we have the privilege of having him in Pakistan for a couple of days. So we thought, why not get hold of him? Now, he belongs to a very prestigious United Nations organization that has been dealing with social justice and also with internationally recognized human and labor rights and laws. Now, these are very important in the context of a country such as Pakistan or even countries across the world. In the developed nations, we have a very certain and a proper system as far as social justice and the labor laws is concerned. In other countries, there are some issues and complexities that concern them, and to highlight those and to work around them for the betterment of the middle class or lower middle class and the working class in countries such as Pakistan is where the ILO comes in. It has been working diligently since 1947 when Pakistan came let's say became independent. Since 1947, both these ILO and Pakistan have been working together diligently in the realm of social justice as well as for the labor laws and the rights of the labor class. We've been joined by Mr. Haubin. He is the ILO Assistant Director General for Corporate Services. He joins here. He's here from Geneva and he's here for a very short time. So we thought, let's get hold of him and let's try to understand or decipher the work that the ILO is doing. Now, he is here for a very specific purpose, and that is get together for a certain conference. We'll also be trying to understand what that conference stands for and what he wants to achieve through that. Mr. Haubin, thank you very much to have joined us.
Thank you very much.
What brings you to Pakistan? I know a bit, but I mean, I'd like you to tell a little bit our audience on the importance of your visit to Pakistan.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure, really, being asked by the Director General, Gilbert Humboldt, to attend the Pakistan National Tripartite Conference. That brings me. I've been looking forward to visiting Pakistan for a long time, so my dream comes true. I'm very happy. I've been today. The meeting was in session, and it was a very good start and good session. And in addition to that, I was able to see your capital and some of the historical sites. Very impressive.
All right, so you have a little inkling of what Islamabad or Pakistan stands for, but there's so much more to Pakistan, and I hope in your future visits you'll be able to understand more where our cultures come from and how important those cultures are, whether it be the mountains, whether it be the deserts, whether it be the castles that are here, or whether it be the civilizations like that of Gandhara. I hope you'll be also able to seep into the Pakistani culture as we speak. Now, you were talking about the National Tripartite Labour Conference that is being held in Islamabad, and you are here specifically because of that. How do you consider this important conference to be a contributing factor to improve working relations and the working environment as far as Pakistan is concerned?
This is really a very important conference. This conference was the first in 15 years' time. So this conference brings the International Labour Organization, but more importantly, brings in the government, the social partners, by which I mean the workers' organization and employers' organization. They will discuss in a very important issue. That issue is the very fact that the government, social partner come together for this meeting, send a very strong message and give political momentum to a very important cause, that is promoting social justice. And also the very fact that we are talking about occupational safety and health, this is a important, very, very important topic for the International Labour Organization and for Pakistan. And the meeting will bring together those partners, and they will come up with some solutions, come up with the roadmap going forward. That certainly would contribute to the realization of improving the living, working condition of the Pakistani people.
You've talked of occupational health and occupational hazards that are specific to Pakistan, but do you feel whatever these concerns are just specific to Pakistan, or do you feel you have seen similar issues in other countries as well?
It's a global issue, really, occupational safety and health. Every given year, you have over 2 million people died of occupational related diseases and injuries, and 300 million people suffered injury and diseases because of their work. So it's not Pakistan specific, it's a global issue.
All right. What kind of support do you feel that your organization, that is the ILO, can give or provide to assist Pakistan in order to ratify the ILO Conventions on Occupational Safety and Health?
Yes, the government of Pakistan has decided to ratify the 2 very important conventions, which happens to be the what we call the core conventions, fundamental right and principle at work. So it's a very important. These are 2 very important conventions. Now, for the International Labour Office, what we can provide, offer to the government and the social partner is technical advice, policy advice, capacity building. By technical assistance or advice, I mean we help to identify areas where, the gap that the system that Pakistan might have vis-a-vis the requirement of the international conventions. So we can help them to find, the gap and provide advice.
All right. The advice is not only good for the employees, but also for the employers. Now, what in your point of view is the role of the employers and all these workers' organizations that work in countries such as Pakistan to promote occupational safety and health?
Yeah, they can invest in, trainings to let people know. So arm them with the necessary knowledge and skill to avoid the unintended diseases, and some of which can be easily prevented. So first, and then listen to the view of the workers and work with the government. So there are several ways that the employers that can play their own roles.
All right. When you look at different countries, because you've been to Pakistan, but I'm sure you've gone to many other countries as well, and you've seen the situation as far as the occupational health and safety is concerned. How is the implementation of the relative laws been easy or difficult, generally speaking, across the world?
To have this occupational safety in proper place, you need, first of all, have a system, a framework. Second of all, you would need to have the capacity, technical expertise. Third of all, you would need to have the rules and regulation in place. These requires, investment. For developing country, it can be difficult because it requires a lot of effort, financial, human.
In this day and age, Mr. Haubin, the role of technology cannot be neglected. In whichever field that you are, whether you work, whether you integrate yourself with other people across the world, technology plays a crucial part. What impact, in your point of view here, in this context, can technology have on improving the working conditions in Pakistan and, of course, elsewhere across the world as well? And what measures would you recommend to adopt to such technologies and innovation? Because I feel that innovation is extremely important. The way the world is changing, the way technology is changing, we have to adapt and we have to innovate ourselves accordingly as well. What is the importance of all of that?
Yes, thank you for the question. I think technology, technology bring, progress can oftentimes, it's not necessary all the time. So technology can sometimes have positive effect, sometimes have negative effect, especially when it comes to, and word work, meaning work, labor. So we need to, develop a policy framework and develop a policy to address the issue that might have negative impact on well-being of workers as a result of utilizing technologies. For instance, people use for delivery,
Yes.
and delivery things, and that can be, if the algorithm is designed in such, that can actually have very negative impact on the well-being of their delivery boy. So we need to find a way to address that.
But don't you feel also adequate training is also important for all of these different working class men and women in societies such as ours, in order to make them understand the good and the bad of innovation and of technology, so that they use it to their best or for their benefit, and to reduce as much of complaints, physical or otherwise?
Yes, I would totally agree with you that the training is a very important part of raising awareness of them with the necessary skills. So I think it is important. I agree with you. Yeah.
All right, all right. Mr. Haubin, strategies are extremely important whenever you want to implement a certain processes or innovate a certain environment, or in this case, the work environments. How do these strategies adapt, implement themselves? Who is on the backbone of the implementation of such strategies, and which strategies, in your point of view, can be proposed to address decent work deficits in countries such as Pakistan? I'm sure there are many countries who have or who are in a similar situation. And in your point of view, how can social dialogue play a role? I think social dialogue is extremely important in any society, but for a work-related environment such as Pakistan's, it becomes even more pertinent. What's your take?
Thank you very much. I'm very glad that you raised this issue. The decent work deficit issue. Decent work deficit issue is not confined just to a few countries. We have decent work deficit across the globe. So,
but why is that?
Decent work because of the way distribution of wealth, because the way of the work arrangement, and also because of the way of people's skill. So there are several reasons that contribute to that.
All right. I was looking through your CV, Mr. Haubin, and I was extremely impressed. You've been working since the 1st of January last year as the Assistant Director General for Corporate Services at the ILO. Over the past 30 years, 3 decades is a huge time. You have gained this wide range of skills and experience in management, leadership, diplomacy, in your national and international career, in areas of labor, in social security, in employment, as well as negotiation. How do you bring all of that experience to this current post? Because I'm sure you encounter many challenges depending on the countries. In Pakistan, the challenges might be different from any other country in the region or from any other country in any other continent. How do you, bring all of this 3 decades of expertise to the fore when it comes to handling different cultures, societies, and regions?
Thank you very much. Yes, I was appointed, as you said, just last year as the Assistant Director General.
But you have a long experience with the ILO as well.
Yes, some experience. So by corporate service, actually, if I can use 2 words to describe what we do in corporate service.
Because it looks very nice and very attractive, corporate service. We don't know what it does actually, what defines corporate service.
Yes, 2 words, service and governance. Okay. Service, we provide HR service, finance service, internal service such as facility, security, IT service, building renovation, all of that. So it's a internal thing. So we provide services to our colleagues across the office. But at the same time, because we also have a well-established internal governance structure, by having a group, a set of policy and procedures. So we are there also to ensure that those policies and procedures are duly properly followed, so as to ensure transparency and avoid undue consequences such as neglection of work. So that's what governance means. And my past experience in the Chinese civil service system, I think for me, the important, if I learn anything, the thing that would be that as a manager or as a leader, you need to put the overall organizational vision in your mind. Keep that in your mind. Develop your own vision or goals, specific goals for the areas that you are responsible, and then empower the colleagues that work with you so as to deliver what is expected of you.
Mr. Haubin, since 2013, you've been working with the ILO and you've worked as far as promoting social justice in different atmospheres within the ILO and helping the ILO in different social cultures and societies across the world. When you look at your diverse experience as far as this sector is concerned, what in your point of view do you feel Pakistan needs to achieve in this very sector? And how can the ILO help?
Yeah, I think it is, my experience wouldn't suffice myself to give advice to a country as large as Pakistan. I think it is, I'm not in a position to do that. But different country have different, background, and therefore the different way of doing things. So, as we say, it's a cliche, but it is, I think it is true that there is no one-size-fits-for-all solution. But for me, as far as my experience is concerned, I'm thinking the word that comes to my mind is cooperation.
All right.
And over the years, whatever I did over the past 30 years is a part of this big cooperation project or big cooperation, in a program that, through cooperation, of course, it's a mutually beneficial cooperation. China learned a lot. And for instance, in China's developing its own legal system, labor law system, we draw a great deal from the international labor standards through the technical support. So in this respect, I would like to suggest, in my humble view, maybe International Labor Organization can offer technical assistance to a big country such as Pakistan.
When you talk of technical assistance to Pakistan, in which realms do you feel Pakistan could really truly benefit from this assistance?
Yeah, one of the things I think we need to, we are a organization that serving the member states. We need to get their agreement on issues. So to find that, we need to first identify together what are the issues would be. For the time being, I think it is an important area, as you already mentioned, is the OSH issue. The convention, ratification of the conventions. I think that's an area where we can, the International Labor Organization can lend some help. In fact, my colleagues, the colleagues in the Pakistan office of ILO has already been doing that.
All right, I think that's important, and every country, as I've said during the show as well, every country, every society have their own issues, have their own positives, negatives, things that they need to work upon, and they need to be configured as per the society or the country. For example, social justice in our country will be different as social justice in another country of the world, and the whole perspective changes, and the way the ILO deals with it, I'm sure, changes also with respect to the country or the society. What is the mission or the impact of the ILO? Because for a layman, when you say ILO, International Labour Organization, the person will say, what is, the only word he could understand is labor, means the labor class. But what is the mandate? What is the objective of the ILO? How important do you feel the role of the ILO has been as far as this key word that we've been mentioning so much during the course of the show, social justice is concerned, and human and labor rights?
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed. The mission for the ILO is rather straightforward. If you look at the preamble of the Constitution of the International Labor Organization, there is one very powerful sentence. It says, the universal and lasting peace can be established only if it is based upon social justice. So social justice, our mission, our founding mandate and mission is to pursue our social justice through decent work and through decent work. Now we have a new Director General, Mr. Gilbert Humboldt. He also laid out a vision for the organization, which is, pursue our constitutional mandate through a renewed social contract and supported by Global Coalition for Social Justice. So it's basically about what? It's about improving the labor's well-being in terms of work hours, in terms of the way that they organize themselves so that they can negotiate and bargain with the employers to have a better condition of services and have the necessary protection, social protections and OSH protection, all the protections. So these are really what social justice about in the labor context.
Because social justice is such a wide term when you look at it. It engulfs so many things, so many different perspectives to it that I think just talking from it from an ILO perspective is also, encompasses so many important things and such a lot of work that your organization has been doing. How does the ILO work, Mr. Haubin, and how do you ensure that these objectives that you've just talked about, social justice and labor and health and security and safety, how do you ensure that all of these are implemented in all of the countries that you work with?
Yeah. Thank you very much. I forget to mention the response to the last part of your last question.
Please go ahead.
Yes, that's you were asking about the impact that the international labor organizations have globally. I think it is a very legitimate question because there is some questions about it in the multilateral system, how relevant and impactful. And I would like to give you some example. One of which is that we have a body of international labor standards, and 119 to be non-zero, to be more specific, covering from freedom of association, fight against forced labor, fight against discriminations, and equal opportunities for all, and all the core conventions. They have been followed largely by the member states. So that's one example of how impactful we are. And also the second is that I give you an example. In 1969, the International Labor Organization was awarded Nobel Peace Prize for its achievement, the contribution. That's a recognition of its impact. And we have global sustainable development goals, and one of the goal 8, is about employment. So you would see the recognition, global recognition, it's not just ourselves in the International Labor Organization, but globally recognizing that issue, so important. That gives you, in a sense, the impact the International Labor Organization have. Is there a room for improvement? Indeed, but we will try to work on that. And regarding the way how we function, I think we can use two phrases, if I could. One is about tripartism and social dialogue. So we are an institution, organization that workers' organization and employer organizations joining hands in equal status with the government in free discussions on issues related to labor and employment and make democratic decisions. So in our governance structure, workers and employers play extremely important roles vis-a-vis the government. So that's the unique aspect of our organization. That's our trademark, hallmark, if you will. And the second part is about how we, through three mainly things. One is international labor standard. We identify issues where we set standard to mobilize global consensus so as to have a international labor standard. The recent one was Convention 119 against harassment. So we passed international labor standard and encourage member states to ratify it and make it part of their national, legal framework and monitor what they do. So by this is one way. Another way is we provide technical advice, give them the necessary technical support. For instance, if Pakistan is developing a employment, promotion law, and they can seek advice and technical advice from the International Labor Organization. We also utilize the development cooperation project, and I know in Pakistan there were actually quite a few, and by supporting constituents. So these are the three things that we that we do.
Even you were talking of harassment. Harassment is such a huge issue and such a complex issue as well, not only in the developing world but also in the developed world, where so many workers are confronted with it in different innovative manners. You talked about innovation, but this is a huge subject that I hope we'll get to tackle maybe in this show and another one. Nevertheless, in August of last year, you said, and I'll quote, you said, in the words of the ILO Director General, the world is currently facing four main challenges. You yourself said that. You said the four challenges are persistent injustices, inequalities, insecurities, and instabilities. You called them the four I's. You said today 600 million people live in absolute poverty globally. Economic disparities, lack of access to education and health services, discrimination, and inadequate social protection systems are some of the factors that contribute to persistent poverty and social injustice worldwide. You also said that social justice is in danger locally, nationally, and globally. What measures do you feel, with your huge experience, are needed, are primordial to tackle poverty, to tackle economic disparities, discrimination, and inadequate social protection?
Thank you very much. Speaking of the I's,
yes,
speaking, the locally, nationally, globally, I was referring to quoting the Director General's report. But I think it's so important. Poverty is a global issue. It's not.
Also see poverty in the developed world.
I was surprised at one point of time. I don't remember. There's this one young girl who said her country there is 30 million people who suffer from hunger. I was just shocked. She is coming from one of the most advanced country. She said this in Davos. So it's everywhere.
It's a global phenomenon.
Yeah, a global phenomenon. Now, global phenomenon requires global, effort, right? And at the global level, at the macro level, I think it is important that achieve policy coherence. We adopt coherent policies, and that's one. And also, that's why the International Labor Organization is proposing something called the Global Coalition for Social Justice. This is meant to promote a holistic approach to some of the key issues, including hunger. Now, for the hunger issue, when it comes specifically to labor, to the International Labor Organization, I think one thing comes to my mind, that is if a worker has adequate living wage, has the necessary social protection, he or she wouldn't be suffering from poverty. But how would you achieve that? So for you to have adequate living condition, adequate living wages, one thing would be that you need a institution, labor market institution to regulate it, by which I mean, collective bargain. The unions collectively bargain with the employers to secure and minimum wage. That's the part of the way of, from labor perspective, addressing this issue. And same is true with the gender discrimination and gender issue.
Mr. Hauben, Pakistan has had a very important relationship with the United Nations and all of its organizations, including the ILO. If I were to ask you, how do you see this relationship developing, prospering, what would your comment be?
Yeah, I think it, for the, in labor area, I think we enjoyed very good relation with Pakistan. And I think Pakistan was presented and represented ably in the ILO governance structure. We have, for instance, the government delegation and the workers and employers delegation. They were sitting in the workers' bench and government bench and employers' bench. So they contribute. So the relation is very close. Right. And when it comes to here in Islamabad, we have since 1970, a country office in Pakistan dedicated solely to work with Pakistan.
Mr. Hauben, what kind of progress have you seen as far as Pakistan and social justice, Pakistan and labor laws, Pakistan and improvement of gender discrimination is concerned? And what do you further look forward to in the months and the years to come as far as the efforts in this direction?
Yes, Pakistan has come a long way really in making progress in almost every aspect. It's a country that faced big challenge, but it is a country that I can see, as I said this morning, is very, very resilient and raised to the occasion. And they are important, significant progress in almost every aspect of, when it comes to labor, the living, the working hours and freedom of associations and the importance of, social partners play in the national governance of labor issues. So they are very positive and important progress. If I were to see some areas where we need to, to work, I think the area is OSH. And I mentioned earlier already that the government of Pakistan has decided that they will ratify these two core conventions. And I think we should focus our effort on this and make sure that the proper mechanism and framework and policies and the legal framework are in place so as to be able to protect the workers in Pakistan.
Mr. Hauben, you've talked to so many stakeholders in Pakistan as well who belong to different sectors of the society and who are important to bringing innovation as far as labor laws, as far as social justice is concerned. In your discussions with these stakeholders, what do you infer? What is their resolve as far as, for example, this convention that you are having, this tripartite consultation convention that you are having, which is also happening after quite a number of years as well. I would like to understand your point of view on what the Pakistani stakeholders want to do or intend to do as far as improving on the laws, improving on the realm of social justice, and of course gender discrimination and other important factors is concerned.
Yeah, I see a great commitment from not only the government, but also from the social partners, to improve the situation in labor situation in Pakistan. I'm very encouraged by this, and the fact that Pakistan is organizing a national tripartite labor conference after 15 years is indication of their firm commitment, and I appreciate that. I think the Director General and ILO would appreciate that greatly. And of course, this is a country that have quite a few stakeholders, as you said, in India, labor area and also in the employers, organization, and so that they will have dynamics in their own, And our view would be, our role would be support them and work with them.
But Mr. Harbin, I really hope that, such conferences will continue to happen on a more regular basis and not after every 15 years. I mean, after 2009, we have it in 2024. And I hope there will be a more regular basis of such conventions, of such get-togethers, because it's important to also have a follow-up on all of what we have discussed with the Pakistani stakeholders, to also see where they have come to, what have they implemented, what has been the success story as far as all these ratifications that you have discussed. Do we look forward to a regular spate of such conventions in the future?
Yeah, I see that. And I see the, the willingness from the government, from the social partners to carry on that. And I think it is an encouraging sign. And certainly I look forward to that.
Speaking of Pakistan and speaking very generally as well, Mr. Harbin, what are the challenges that you see when you go to a certain country, developed or developing, Pakistan or any other country in South Asia or a country in Europe or Africa or Central America? What are the challenges? Are there certain common challenges that you encounter within the realm of the ILO? Secondly, the mandates of conferences such as these that you that you hold, do you feel they are achieved as per your perspective?
Thank you very much. For the challenges, I think Pakistan is a very young nation in terms of a demographic, So you have a lot of young people, just like in China.
We've got a majority of under 30.
Yes. So it's a young nation. Young nation, a very hopeful, very promising nation, but you would need to find jobs for the young people. That's a huge challenge. I think it is a challenge for very many young countries globally, especially in Africa, in South Asia, and even in China. So, but I think this is one. I see. I participated in a portion of the meeting. And I also had briefing from my colleagues who participated the rest of the meeting. And the initial goal is to, have a common understanding and have consensus and sharing experiences. And I think in that respect, they were quite successful.
Okay. But, if you compare Pakistan to any other country in South Asia, and I'm sure you've been to some of them, in your huge experience under the realm of the ILO and other countries in the world as well, are there certain common challenges that you see, or do these challenges differ from country to country or region to region?
Yeah, I think in the southern part of Asia, in Southern Asian countries, I think those countries do share some common challenges. One of which would be like youth employment. Another one would be social protection, the challenges of extending social protection across for the people who rightly deserve so is a huge. And so I see, and these are some of the challenges I consider, quite, maybe common.
All right. Another thing that we've discussed in the beginning, but I want to come back to, is occupational safety and health of the workers. I feel it's very important in even a society or a culture such as ours. What measures do you feel need to be taken to ensure this safety and health, and also that this safety and health is in compliance with the OSH regulations and standards?
So for the measures, I think for any country, that I think I mentioned that one would be that you need to have a system. And in proper system in it, by which you need to have the necessary, expertise. The labor inspectors and all OSH and experts. You need to give the necessary trainings and you need to invest in the institution buildings. These are some of the measures and that I think the Pakistan can undertake, and ILO would be, in a position to offer assistance.
All right.
technical assistance.
In this day and age, Mr. Haubin, we see many conflicts across the world. How have these conflicts impacted the working class as well as the OSH? Would you kindly elaborate on some of the challenges that you've seen because of these conflicts?
Yeah, so it's a sadly a very turbulent period of time. There are quite a few, conflicts taking place across the world. That's so sad to behold. And I remember my Director General, at one point of time, he said, it broke my heart to see people suffer as a result of a conflict. And so it's sad. Impact livelihood, employment, well-being, almost everything, economic. So it's in a skill which is truly, unimaginable really for. So it has a huge impact on the working class people.
The social justice, on the labor environment, on discrimination, and so on and so forth.
Yes, and also, we are not in a humanitarian agencies like UNDP.
But you are impacted by it.
Yes, and IOM or other agencies, UNICEF. But we do our fair share. We do when condition warrants. For instance, last year, the Director General announced a crisis response, plan in response to the conflict in the OPT, Occupied Palestine Territories. So, and we did the same thing in Ukraine and many other countries.
All right. Antonio Guterres, your Secretary General at the United Nations, talks about bolder actions that are required. He says, firstly, we need peace. Secondly, we need solidarity. Thirdly, we need a surge in implementation and a more concerted effort to dismantle gender barriers and empower all the women and girls, because we cannot expect to achieve the goals without gender equality. He was, of course, talking of the SDGs. With just 6 years remaining before the SDGs have to be implemented, how do you feel these actions are achievable? Are they achievable? Can the world be able to achieve the SDGs by 2030?
I looked the glass as a
half full and not half empty.
Half full, yeah. If we look back, we can say that we achieved. I mean globally. International community have achieved significant progress, even in terms of achieving gender parity. That's positive side, of course, but we have to admit much needs to be done. And there were people who say we are going to be off track. And I see quite a few people, and sizable people agree with that notion. But I think even if that we will not be able to achieve that, but we still need to work. And I think it's achieving eliminating gender discrimination, all the other related discrimination, is a moving target. It can be like something in the horizon. The closer you go, the greater effort you need to make.
Exactly. It's just like you following your shadow. The more you try to follow your shadow, the more it goes away from you. It's a constant battle. It's a constant battle specifically under this geopolitical or geostrategic situation as well, that impacts so many other sectors, including the labor sector. That is, of course, extremely crucial for any society, developed or developing. We've had an excellent conversation, Mr. Haubin. Before we leave you, I'd like you to, as we ask most of our guests, to give any message for Pakistan, for maybe the Pakistani stakeholders, or the Pakistani labor class, or the Pakistani youth, from your perspective. Any message that you'd like to give to us, to Pakistan, through our channel PTV World, would be more than welcome to have it and to make it part of our program and our conversation.
Thank you very much. I think if I were to have one message, I think one thing I would like to say is labor is not a commodity. and protecting labor rights contribute to the realization of social justice. This is a common goal. I would like to invite all of us to strive to achieve that.
Mr. Haubin says labor is not a commodity and it should not be treated as a commodity. You know, there are certain things that we take for granted in our social circle, in our society, whether it be here or in the other countries. Sometimes there are certain things that we take for granted. Rights, gender parity are something that that is primordial for the development of any society, developed or developing. And that is where ratification of laws, conventions come into place, and the implementation of those conventions, and the importance of organizations such as the ILO. That is why we need to highlight the importance of social justice, of gender discrimination, on how to move above and beyond, and make a society across the world wherein whether you're a man or a woman, you have equal rights. Whether you are a labor class of any category, you have the same rights to live a life with dignity, to live a life with happiness, and to live a life with all the luxuries that life can, the basic necessities that life can provide you. I think that is very important. That realization for all the stakeholders in all the countries of the world is extremely important. And herein comes the importance of the ILO and how diligently it has been working with different countries, including Pakistan, to make that realization and that implementation possible. Mr. Haubin, thank you very much to have joined us. It was a pleasure talking to you. Your visit was short and sweet, but we got the opportunity to discuss many important things around our labor class, around social justice, around this National Tripartite Labor Conference. And we hope to see you more often, and we hope to see a regular continuity of such conferences so as to highlight these basic issues such as social justice to communities across Pakistan.
Thank you very much. It's a true pleasure and honor for me to be interviewed by you. And I never really been interviewed for this long. And it's a very nice experience for me, especially when I'm interviewed in a friendly country such as Pakistan. Thank you very much.
And we all know that China and Pakistan are extremely friendly and extremely brotherly countries, and we hope that this will continue as well in the same realm. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of this episode of Diplomatic Enclave. We'll see you inshallah in a week's time with a new guest and a new topic of discussion. Till then, and thank you very much, Mr. Abdul.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Pleasure, really.